kid pressed play on a random VHS labeled Wrestling Tape 2. What played instead was a red room, a chair, and a man in a mask promising the screaming would get worse. If you finish this one, you'll understand why Alfred doesn't exist anywhere online anymore. Subscribe now. This is the darkest story in this set. 5th grade, around age 10. Social, plenty of friends. Mid-year, a new kid arrived. Alfred, awkward, an easy target. Kids nicknamed him after Batman's butler, then shortened it to something crueler. He took the abuse without much visible reaction. They lived next door to each other, rode the bus together, walked home together. In those short walks, one thing bonded them that none of his other friends shared: professional wrestling, nothing more than that. Brief conversations, never hanging out outside school, never allowed to sit together at lunch. Then his mom got a call. Alfred's mother, worried, explaining her son was struggling, that everyone was cruel to him except this one kid. She asked if he could come over for a sleepover. He didn't want to. His friends would find out. His mom said yes anyway. Alfred's parents were warmly, aggressively friendly. His dad wore a wrestling shirt, did impressions, talked wrestling with genuine enthusiasm. A good afternoon, honestly. Before bed, they were told one rule: don't go in the basement. Dangerous work equipment down there, Alfred explained. Best avoided. That night he couldn't sleep, never could away from home. He heard Alfred's dad come downstairs, heard him open a door, heard footsteps descending through the vent near his head. Then, muffled through the vent, a distorted sound, like an old television with too much static, nearly an hour of it. Then, footsteps coming back up. Morning came. Alfred's dad, cheerful again, mentioned his massive VHS wrestling tape collection in the basement, offered to pull some out to watch together. He assumed the TV static he'd heard was just his dad watching old matches. Made sense at the time. He got permission to stay another night. Alfred hyped up specific legendary matches, growing more excited. He mentioned hearing the static the night before. Alfred looked confused, didn't understand why his dad would be down there in the middle of the night. Curiosity won. He suggested sneaking down to look at the tapes. Alfred was visibly nervous, said they really shouldn't. Not without his dad. He pushed anyway. Alfred agreed reluctantly. The basement, cold, unfinished, ordinary, except for a yellow wooden door in the back, spray-painted with the words, "Get out." Alfred said it was already like that when they moved in. His dad thought it looked cool. Behind it, a wall of labeled videotapes, an old TV, a VR. This was clearly where the static had come from. Most tapes were carefully labeled by event and year. A handful, though, were plain. Just Wrestling Tape 1. Wrestling Tape 2. Nothing more specific. He grabbed one. Alfred asked what he was doing, told him to hurry. He pressed play. Not wrestling. Static, grainy footage of a room, walls, floor, ceiling, all deep red, a single wooden chair, nothing else visible. But in the background, screaming, the kind that lingers for years. Before he could eject it, a masked man stepped into frame. Cheerful, disturbingly so. Looked directly at the camera and said, "Stay tuned. You'll want to see what happens next." Then laughed as the screaming behind him got louder. Alfred stopped the tape, said he'd heard his dad's car outside. They killed the TV and ran upstairs. His dad returned, still acting normal, told them to give him a few minutes before more matches. That's when he realized he'd never ejected the tape, never put it back where it belonged. An hour later, Alfred's dad came back upstairs. Different now. Angry. Told him flatly he needed to go home, then walked away without explanation. He left immediately, deeply uncomfortable. Alfred wasn't at school Monday. He went to check on him after school. Alfred answered, clearly having cried, said his family was moving immediately. His dad had gotten a new job. A long pause, then quietly that he was okay. His dad appeared behind him. Alfred said he had to go and shut the door. The next day the teacher announced Alfred wasn't coming back. Nobody much cared. Years later, retelling the story to friends, one of them reacted with genuine alarm, asked if he knew about something called the Red Room, a dark web legend supposedly. He'd never heard of it. Pointed out this happened on VHS, long before the internet had video at all. His friends suggested maybe he'd seen an early physical media precursor to whatever the Red Room eventually became. He dismissed it at the time. It felt absurd. Years passed. More people heard the story. More people started taking the theory seriously. They looked Alfred up on social media once. Nothing, no trace, like the family existed, then simply didn't. He still doesn't know for certain what he saw, wants desperately to believe it was some kind of fabricated home movie, nothing more. But the more he reads about what the Red Room actually is, the harder that becomes to believe, and the harder it becomes to sleep, knowing exactly how close he once stood to something with a name like that. Sometimes the scariest thing isn't what you saw on the tape. It's realizing, years later, that you may have been standing in the same house as something that was never meant to be found by a child at all.